Good morning, everybody.
Hey,
Good Friday to you. I'm
good
Barry
Friday to you.
Edwards. Welcome
And I'm
over
Merle
to.
Garrison. Sorry.
I know. I did it backwards. Wow. So, Merle, I said to you, we talked yesterday, and I said, wow, I don't have a whole lot, and now I got a ton to go
Oh my
over. But
gosh.
I want you to start with the upfront part, but I just want to mention that this morning I was going to the gym, and I've been hurting for some really good new podcasts lately, which I
Hmm.
listen to so many. It's kind of weird when I come into that situation. Then this morning, I see Jordan Peterson's got a new one. I'm not always thrilled with all his podcasts, so I, looked at it. What's it going to be? Well, it was Trump's X-Men: The Psychological Analysis of Trump's Personality by Jordan Peterson.
Huh.
It was so good. I can't wait to talk about it. I got some
Really?
clips. He does a psychoanalysis. I mean, this is like the smartest professor, psychologist that I
A
know of.
psycho professor.
Yes, yes. And he does a psychoanalysis on Trump and, as he says, the X-Men, meaning JD Vance, Elon Musk, RFK, Tulsi, Vivek, and Vivek. So six people total. It was great, and you will definitely
Interesting.
be listening to it. But I'll just cover the overview of it. I gotta share a bunch from Tulsi's part. What he said about Tulsi was wow, wow. But we'll get to that.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's other things like I told you I wanted to talk a bit about Josh Hawley. I got some clips from him because I think he's like the sole survivor in that Republican Party that God, I don't know what a waste of time that party is. But I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to
Democrat
say
Party.
it. You say I was talking about the Republican Party.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
This is, I was confused. I thought you were talking about RFK Jr. and moving over
Oh, we're
to the Trump campaign and
yeah,
Tulsi as well.
there's a lot to be said there
It
too. And
seems
we
like
will talk about
there
that.
were souring things in that party. I've been embarrassed,
Boy,
but
did you
I've
make
been
an understatement.
reinvigorated with the new things that have happened with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr.
I know, and we got a lot to
I
talk
think
about
this
there.
is I think there's a glimmer of hope there. But what I wanted to talk about
Gigantic.
first is respect. RESPECT, and
Ah,
how do you earn it? How do you get respect? Over 50 starting over. Here we are. We're the ones. We're the gray hairs now, and this is
uh-huh.
our
If you
time.
had any.
If I had it, I got some in my beard, so I got them. And
Oh, so
but
do I.
wisdom is supposed to come with that. But how do you share your wisdom if you don't have any respect? I found this article by Ken Rotowski, and he's saying this that
Who is this guy? Any background on him?
he's I don't have any background on him. I'm just giving him credit for this. He's
Okay.
just an author out there talking about the habits that earn respect. And he's saying that there are 11 habits that quietly build respect, along with three more you might not have considered. And we'll just go over these real
Mhm.
quick. I think this is pretty cool stuff because, people think that, you know what? I deserve your respect. Well, nobody deserves that. You kind of got to earn it. And there's ways to do
Agreed.
it. Number one.
Wait, let me juxtapose that with something. I went down a rabbit hole last night. You ever go down a YouTube rabbit hole and you're like, damn, I was supposed
Yes.
to go to bed an hour ago.
Mm.
I did last night,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a perfect counterpoint to what you're talking about. It was because I was watching these videos of the police cams of
Oh, yeah.
highly entitled people that think they shouldn't be arrested.
I've
Oh
seen
boy.
these before, and it's like you want to help the police officer
Uh-huh.
arrest this person when you start hearing them talk.
Oh, it's amazing. And it just really shows you what a different day and age we're in now.
Oh, I know. I
Now
know,
think about
right?
that. These cops are wired up with cameras and everything. 4 years ago, oh, it was death to all cops, defund the police, and blah blah blah. Well, now they have to make every effort in the world to record their every move, and that's a good thing for everybody. But it also shows what a bunch of entitled assholes that we have in this society now.
Oh, I'm telling you. I mean, we've taught our young ones entitlement, and
Mhm.
it is over the top. I mean, just in the fact that they don't refer to their elders as Mr. or Mrs.
Or say
anymore. They
please
call
or
them by
thank
their
you.
first name. Yeah, and just hey,
Anything.
you. Yeah, just the way they
Yeah.
talk to people. I remember that was you don't say hey to your teacher. Hey, that
Or
might be
even a bartender
right, right.
ordering a drink. Get their
Yeah,
name.
it
Yeah.
is it is pretty crazy. So
Stop that.
respect comes from some of these habits. Number one, he's got be authentic. Don't just agree.
Huge. Yeah.
That's interesting.
We talked a lot
To
about
be
authenticity.
agreeable. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, this is saying agreeing with everyone might seem like a way to avoid conflict, but it does the opposite. It erodes credibility. When you express a genuine opinion, even if it's unpopular, people trust you more. That's interesting, especially in this day and age.
You know what though? I think that you have to follow that up with how do you express
That's
that
interesting
counter
because
opinion.
number two is speak with
Stop it.
confidence and clarity. Slow down.
Oh,
Rushing through thoughts doesn't
stop it.
convey compassion. It conveys nervousness. A slower pace shows you value your own words, and others will follow suit. Think of it this way: the longer you take, the more weight your words carry.
You know, you've talked about that before. And especially we talked about it when negotiating. And when emotions start getting high, that's when you start slowing down your speech and getting calmer,
Right,
bringing
right.
calm
And
to the table.
it's interesting. I saw Ben, what is the guy's name?
Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro. That's right. And he was having a face-to-face
He
debate with
talks so
somebody.
fast.
Well, it's
Go
funny you're
away.
saying that because the person he was talking to, and it was a debate over abortion, and this woman was trying to say that a C-section was an abortion because it terminated the pregnancy. And so which is ridiculous, but when she went to make her point, she spoke at light speed. I mean, it was like really hard to understand what she was saying because she was speaking so quickly that just the cadence of her speech compared to Ben Shapiro's made him seem much more believable than her, even though
Wow.
I mean, it was presentation. There's a movie I watched recently where the woman keeps saying over and over, never underestimate the value of presentation.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is one of those things, how
Well,
you
you're talking
present.
about respect. It's all about how you present. And a
That's
first
right.
impression is so important.
It actually is. And to go with that, number three is show genuine interest and be present.
Oh, dude,
In a
that's listening. That's listening
that there it
skills.
is in a
Yeah.
world in a world where everyone is multitasking, giving someone your full attention is rare and powerful. It's
Yeah.
about more than just making eye contact. It's about really listening, asking questions, and letting the conversation breathe.
Yes, yes. It's very important in the medical field. I've been working a lot with this and with my friend, Dr. Jeff Lobus. We're both trying to bring more compassion. And I did a podcast with Dr. Stephen Treziak, the author of Compassionomics, who talked about this as well, is with the business people taking over the the C-suites, CEO positions and stuff of hospitals and demanding doctors work more hours, see more patients and all that to enhance the bottom line. There's been such burnout. I mean, ask
Burnout
it.
is huge.
Yeah, talk to any physician. It's all they talk about is burnout. And so I'm working with concierge, private medical practices a bit. It's a huge subject matter. And to counter it, if you just spend 3 more minutes with each patient, it has a direct turnaround effect, not only in the patient's point of view of care, but in the doctor. Like doctors used to be taught that they should have a professional distance so they don't
Yes.
burn out. Turns out it's quite the opposite, that
You
they
know,
have to fully flesh out the relationship.
it's interesting, Barry. I remember when doctors started to bring laptops into your appointment, and then they wouldn't even be looking at you as they're asking questions. They're looking at the laptop and filling out stuff, and it's sort of impersonal. And it's our technology can have a way of stealing away the personal touch, and
It
this
does.
is the very important human. We need the personal touch. We're humans. It's not good
Yeah,
for man to be alone.
that's
And
very
your
true.
physician. Uh, anyway, yeah, I
Hey,
get what you're saying.
I want to say
But
one final thing about that because we're talking about listening skills. We've talked about this before, but if you're in a conversation with somebody, we've all had it. You're in a conversation with somebody and the dude looks like he's going to sneeze in your face any minute now because he's just trying to take over the conversation and say what he wants to say. He's not listening to you. And that's all.
Yes.
You can't wait to get away from it. So don't be that person.
Oh my gosh. Right, right.
Listen and
We're
then ask a follow-up question to what they just said to prove that you're listening for one, but you'll win over the respect. We're talking about respect here. You'll win over the respect of the conversation. This is best in networking situations and interviewing situations.
you're going to make me skip to number 8 because it deals with exactly what you're talking about is listen without interrupting.
Yeah.
It's harder than it sounds. Most people listen just enough to form their own response.
Yep.
When you're truly
Ego.
listening without planning your rebuttal, you signal that you value what the other person has to say.
Yep.
And then that goes to number 9. Be present, avoid overthinking.
Yep.
Thinking ahead can be a strength, but overthinking distracts you from the moment.
Yep.
When you're fully present, you
We've all
react
done
better, connect more deeply, and make a stronger impression.
Yeah, we've all been a victim of that ego seizing us out of our moment. Out of our
Right,
moment.
right. I see it in political debates too, where
God, yeah.
they're thinking of what to say, but and you can see it on their face that they're thinking, but the question hasn't ended yet, and so
Yeah.
they're not really paying attention to the rest of the question.
Yeah.
And we've all been guilty of this.
It's hard, man. It's a skill.
It is. But when you are talking to somebody that's truly listening to you and they're in the moment, they're engaged, they're listening without interrupting. It's funny because you could be doing more of the talking, but at the end of the conversation, you're going to think, wow, what a great conversationalist that other
For
person
sure.
was.
And
And they didn't
I-
say anything. They just listened.
Exactly. And I've said before, that is an excellent interviewing technique. If you're being
It
interviewed
really is.
for a job, ask them questions about the culture and different things, let them talk. And then listen and ask follow-up questions to what they just said.
Let me just interject this before I go on. Last week, you did a review of the interview with Brett Baer and Kamala Harris.
Right.
And I gotta say, the way you broke that down was extremely professional.
Thank you.
This is coming from a person that majored in rhetoric and communication, and the way you broke that down. But one of the areas I thought was a great observation that you made has to do with your last comment, was that there were times when Brett Baer needed to let Kamala just finish her thought. But he actually bailed her out by
Twice.
interrupting her twice. And I listened to that a few more times after the show, and I was like, God, I wonder what she would have said right there.
She doesn't even know. That was the problem. She was putting together one word after another that sounded like, okay, these work grammatically. She does that all the time, those word salads. It's just as long as those words work together grammatically, it doesn't matter if there's meaning behind them.
It's an interesting tactic that Brett was using by interrupting and really he did get her to talk about things she never talked about before.
Yeah.
But you know what was interesting? I saw a Telemundo interview this week, and the guy was with Kamala, and the guy was doing a lot of the same stuff Brett Baer was doing. It was really interesting. In fact, I've seen a trend in the last week. They're using that same kind of tactic on her now.
Have to.
What
they should do at this point is just say, okay, word salad, let's make some points.
I mean, it's a little late, but
it is late.
That is what journalism is. I mean, this is what they're supposed to do. Is really, they're not supposed to be their friends. They're supposed to get the truth. That's what we're looking for.
But if you're not Kamala's friend, then the entire
you're not getting the interview.
Well, the entire mainstream media, they were brutal with her. Absolutely brutal.
Right.
Crystal Ball did that. This bothers me. I wanted to mention it. She did that on Breaking Points. I talk about it and I give Breaking Points kudos a bit on the show because it's supposedly independent journalism. Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty started that because they both were on opposite sides. One was on the left, one was on the right. In mainstream media, talked about how they got their talking points. They couldn't stand anymore, so they went independent. And Crystal Ball followed those talking points verbatim in response to that Kamala interview. It was disgusting.
That's disappointing. And I always, every time you mention her name, I think that's not her name. Can't be.
Somebody said in a comment one time, for somebody whose name is Crystal Ball, you'd think she'd be right more often.
That's a good one.
It
All
is.
right, number 4, stay calm.
Oh,
Embrace your
yeah.
natural confidence.
Yeah.
Panic is contagious, but so is calm. When things go wrong, your
True.
ability to stay composed sets the tone for everyone around you. That kind of steadiness doesn't just help you, it reassures others.
Man,
Boy,
it
isn't
does.
that the truth?
Dude, that was very well said. Yeah, yeah, it's very much the truth.
People are can really impact you with their calm and
Energy,
their
whatever the energy is.
and I find that people are much more believable when they're calm. And just
For sure.
that calm demeanor, especially in the face of imminent danger. As a
Mm,
Christian, I see this in the Bible all the time, where Jesus is very calm in the face of even death, and
mm,
this is what makes him my hero. I want to be more like that.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Lighten
great.
up, enjoy the moment is number 5.
That's a good
Being
one.
serious has its place, but humor and lightness make you approachable. It's easier to trust someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously. A shared laugh can break tension and builds connections.
Unless you're
I,
Kamala Harris.
I want to make a point here. I work for a guy. His name is Cliff, and I totally respect this guy. He is a very good leader. He's probably about 12 years younger than me, but he carries himself so well. I think he's kind of the epitome of this list so far. He's
Hmm.
got a great sense of humor. It's a sort of self-deprecating humor,
Oh,
and
that's the
he's
best.
he's very witty. He's a very quick thinker, and I got to say, the guy's won me over. I totally respect this guy because he's doing a lot of these things, and this is one of them. He's got a great sense of humor, and I love when I'm around him.
I'll just say, we're going to talk about that Jordan Peterson podcast soon. He brought up Trump's humor as a huge asset. It's kind of a counterbalance to the narcissist argument.
I totally agree. I personally think the guy's very funny.
He can be.
You and I spoke on the podcast, and you were saying some stuff about Trump, and I was saying I hadn't really listened to him in a while because I was saying
Yeah.
he says the same stuff all the time. But I tuned into a couple of rallies since then, and I have to say, I was kind of hanging on every word he said.
Oh,
He was very entertaining. I laughed out loud several times watching him. I uh I enjoyed it. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm one of those guys, but I like his personality. It's
yeah,
fun.
but you're interviewing for the most powerful job in the world. I think that you need more stats behind what you're talking about. And well, those are rallies, though. That's my problem. Is he can't really discern between talking on Truth Social, a rally, and then the American public in a debate or something
Yeah.
like that. You need to talk differently to your audience.
Yeah, I get a lot of times when I'm listening to him, I'm like, okay, that's what he's going to do about this situation. Okay, that's what he's going to do about that situation. He seems very clear. When I listen to his opponent, I just hear a lot of word salad, and
You
I
know
don't
what he's
really
going to
get
do?
that.
Get us out of freaking wars. That's what he's
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah. And he tells you exactly how he's going to do it too,
Mhm.
with a lot of this stuff. So anyway, number 6, take up space, project confidence. Take up space. Let
I
me
don't
read that.
understand.
How you physically hold yourself matters.
Oh,
Slouching, crossing your
oh, body
arms,
language.
or shrinking
Yes.
into a corner sends a
Yeah.
message.
Hmm.
I don't belong here. Yeah,
Yeah.
God, that is really said. Standing tall, using your hands when you speak, taking up room. These signals tell others you're comfortable and confident. Now, this is interesting because body language is a huge, huge communicator that a lot of people just take for granted.
Yeah.
Again, being a rhetoric and communication major, Barry, I'm constantly looking at the nonverbals.
Mhm.
I'm reading the face. I'm looking for tells. I'm looking at their hand
I
gestures
read
as
the
well.
face like virtually exclusively. Yeah.
You
But the
know,
hand gestures, you're right. I've
you,
learned. Yeah.
the eyes, where the eyes look, how they're, eyes wide, eyes half mask. I think about the Tim
Tim
Walls.
Walls.
It
Looks like
makes a
he just got
difference.
launched out of a
Yeah.
rocket or something.
Yeah, you can see their breathing and
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It's just and just their whole appearance. Nonverbals are
Let
huge,
me
but
ask
this
you
is
though.
interesting.
I
Take up
never,
space.
that's what I was going to ask you. I never heard that before. Take up
Yeah, like
space.
you want to
Can
take up a wide space, I guess.
I never heard that before.
Well,
Huh.
here's something that I have heard, and I hadn't heard it like that. I was a little taken back. I thought I read all these, but one thing about the nonverbals in communication classes is that open and closed, right? Like if you're making points and your hand gestures are here, it's like you're trying to hide something, you're
Yeah.
closed.
Protect yourself.
But these people that have their hands out,
Confident.
and yeah, it exudes confidence, and it also has an open. There's nothing that you're hiding. You're open to everything. Um,
Makes sense. Versus the arms crossed, then you're
yeah,
standoffish.
yeah. I think it's interesting. Okay, so moving on. That was interesting. Discuss challenging topics. Speak your truth. This is what this whole show is about. Most people avoid difficult conversations, but when you
Yes.
address tough subjects directly, people respect you for it.
If
It
you could
shows
do it like an adult.
it shows you're willing to engage, even if it's uncomfortable, and that's rare. I think that goes along with compassion and you got to have some couth. You don't just throw
Yes.
things in people's face,
Can't
right?
be emotional. You got to be
You've
calm.
you've got to be compassionate. You got to have all these other things
Yep.
to
Yep.
go
Yep.
with that. Right. I
But it's
agree.
super important and to read the other person, be, as you say, compassionate. That's empathetic and not push to where you're turning somebody away.
I
Like when you
I,
sense
I
that,
agree.
just let it go.
Yeah,
Like,
you've got
yeah,
to
you agree to disagree. Yeah.
discernment is big here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And number 8. Okay, we already did listen without interrupting, be present, avoid overthinking. Those are 8 and 9. Number 10, don't react to criticism, stay composed.
Oh, you know what's important about that is to challenge your ego, to chip away at it, recognize it. Oh, that stung. You're saying that on the inside.
Yes.
Now is an opportunity for me to chip away at this ego. Can I take it? Take it. I do. I do practice that one all the time.
you know
Just
i
shut up and take it.
I recently saw it was sort of a debate. There's a very popular guy from the Gaza Strip that's come over. His dad is actually like the head of Hamas there. Now he's converted. So he's here in America and he's on a lot of talk shows now talking about what's really going on in Gaza and
Mm.
what's happening with Hamas. And he had an interview with that guy from the Young Turks. His first name is Sank.
Oh,
I'm not a
Shank.
fan of this Shank.
Oh,
Okay, not
can't
a fan of
stand
this
that
guy at all.
guy.
I don't like him
I
either.
don't
But
either.
I'm going to give him kudos on this because that guy came on the show and read him the riot act. I
I've
mean,
heard him say impressive stuff a few times. He's a
he,
debater.
I'm not talking about Shank. I'm talking about this guy from
Oh,
Gaza.
oh, okay.
Just like was how dare you weigh in? You know nothing. You are a complete idiot. I mean, and it was a double screen, and this guy is just really saying all the things that I would actually want to say to him too.
Uh,
But this guy, how do you say his name?
Shank,
Shank
Shank, Chink.
did not change his facial expression.
Hmm.
He looked into the camera because it was a double screen. He looked into the camera, no change. He stayed very calm. He really didn't react. And this was a video clip, so I didn't actually see him
Kudos.
react. But I
Mhm.
gotta say, his composure during that onslaught was impressive. And it
It
made
is.
me think maybe this guy isn't right.
Right,
And
right.
so this whole thing about don't react to criticism, stay composed is so powerful. And let me read what this guy says. He says criticism triggers a response, often defensive or emotional, but the real power lies in your ability to absorb it calmly. It shows
Yes,
maturity and self-control. It tells
yes.
others you can handle pressure.
Hmm. You know
Wow.
what? I got a really good example of that. I was at this networking event one time a couple years ago, and there's this new guy. He was kind of young. When I say young, he mentioned he was 40. He was in between jobs. He was obnoxious. He was thought the whole place of about 40 people was his stage. use the F word while he's doing a presentation, all of this. He was an obnoxious idiot. What do you want to say? Bolsterous and everything.
Yeah.
And I cut him down during his presentation. I forget what I did, but I pointed out his arrogance in a rather nice way. But then I went up and did an impromptu presentation. I just said I wanted to just use you guys to try out a pitch of mine, and went from there, his marketing stuff. And he kept trying to interrupt me and use the same dumb questions that I and at one point and I said, first thing first was like, oh well, what kind of case studies do you have? What kind of proof do you have in your marketing prowess? Because he thought he was a marketing guy. And I said, oh, thank you. That's a really good question. I probably should have led with that. And then I answered the question and then went on with some other stuff. And he came back and he asked me like something else, went back. And then he asked me one of the same two questions again. I said, oh, I just answered that. Anyone else got a question? And that burned him up. I said, I just answered your question. And I went on. And then he came up to me after so, I mean, he was trying, I tweaked his ego. He was trying to tweak mine. And he came up to me after, and I knew like literally it could come to a brawl right here in the middle of this professional net. And he came up to me and I reached my hand out and like, hey, dude, thanks for your questions. And
I love that.
So he was so on his back heels. Yes. And he started asking me the same questions again. And I said something like, Jesus Christ. And I just turned around and walked away. And the leader of the group was standing next to me the whole time, kept trying to defuse the thing, but I let him make a fool of himself. And I repeatedly said, thank you when he challenged me on things.
Well, and I love that as he came up to you, you shook his hand
and with a smile.
You disarmed him right there. And then all he could ask was the same question that he asked you before.
I just told him that I couldn't take him seriously is what I did.
Wow.
Yeah. He was very small and whatever. But I guess my point is
this is about the respect thing. He came at you in a way that he lost credibility.
He was trying to intimidate.
Respect. Yeah.
He was trying to intimidate. Yeah.
Doesn't work.
But I'll just say the moral to the story is that was kind of an extreme case. Dog, quit licking my hands. I put lotion on my hands before the show because they're so dry, and Charlie just wants to lick the lotion off. It's driving me crazy.
Oh, I bet that would. Okay.
Yeah. Number 11. So wait, I just wanted to say, so that was an extreme situation, but I just want to say in a common situation when your ego's getting tweaked, somebody's challenging you. If you have the presence of mind to say, thank you, I appreciate that question. You're making me think about this in a different way, and then answer.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot.
It's about the best you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's mature. It's taking responsibility.
Yes.
It's not avoiding it. It's
correct.
It's taking it head on, like you're a bull.
Yep.
I like that a lot. And it's manly. I don't like this wimpified thing. Nobody respects that.
Dude, said it right there. There's so much wimpified stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Number 11, focus on the process, not just the outcome. Let's see what that is. Yes, results matter, but when you prioritize how you get there, it speaks to your character. It's a signal that you're not just in it for quick wins. You care about doing things right. Focus on the process, not just the outcome.
I get that. I need that unpacked a little more myself.
Yeah, I think, and I think this could go a number of different ways, but when I read this, Barry, I think about integrity, and I think about, this is the cornerstone of where we get respect. And and as a salesperson, I guess as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking of myself, and there are different processes during the sales. Any complex sale has like 20 different sales processes that you go through, and each of these steps, if you're trying to just get to the sale and get the money, people feel that. I work with hospitals. There's a lot of people in this business that are selling to hospitals that are just wanting to make a check, right? They want that commission check. And you can make big commission checks in this business.
Yeah.
But if you're coming into it caring about, you talked about burnout earlier today. This is a major factor in healthcare right now, and it's a terrible thing. If you know what the symptoms of burnout are,
Mhm.
it's causing people to commit suicide.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Yeah.
terrible, terrible thing,
Causing
and it's
people to
it's it,
change careers.
it's full of anxiety and depression
Yeah.
and just darkness. Okay, and
Yes.
so there are tools that I actually bring to the table that can alleviate burnout. And so as I'm talking to people and selling this, I'm thinking about them personally, and how do you have a personal win in this, and how does the hospital have a personal win, and how does or an institutional win, and how does each patient personally win? And what if I were a patient coming in here, and what if my mother were coming in here? You see, when I think about that, it's actually I'm very focused on every detail of the process, because life and death is in the balance, and it could be mine, and it could be the person I'm working with. And so as I'm thinking about that, or if you're ever working with anybody that's selling to you and they put you first, and you feel that,
Well,
and
they're
you
not
respect that, and you
overlooking
trust that.
details to get to a
Right.
desired outcome.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And they care about you. And sometimes they could say, if a salesperson is willing to walk away because they don't feel like this is right for you,
Integrity.
holy cow. And I've done that. So I mean,
Wow.
this is here. Let me just finish off with
Mhm.
this. These Why these habits matter. Small actions have a way of accumulating. None of these habits on their own will instantly change how people perceive you, but together they create a pattern that others notice. They reveal someone who is thoughtful, engaged, and reliable. In the end, that's the foundation of respect. And,
Mhm.
we do a lot of these things just automatically, but, thinking about them as we did today helps sharpen that whole thing. And
Agreed. That is a good
really,
share.
to be effective in your love for other people. And I love people. I love my
Mhm.
family. I love my friends. I love the guy just walking down the street. But
Yes,
if
you
you're
do.
practicing these things, you can have more of an impact on everybody around
Yeah.
you. And it's like a rising tide lifts all boats. And this respect thing is a big part of it.
Yeah, because if you have that open mind and if you're listening and if you're authentic, you'll the people around you that you're communicating with, they will open their minds. And then you
They
could
really
start
will.
speaking truth instead of
Yes.
BS.
That's right. And that's like I talk about my boss, Cliff. I could come in, well, all arrogant, and yeah, I'm like older than you. I've been around the block. You can't tell me what to do. This
It's a bad
guy,
place to come from.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
And that's not my attitude, but
I
I
know.
could easily have an attitude
Yeah.
like that. But this person has a way of breaking through all of that and just being very personable and really following all the steps that I just laid out. And I totally respect that guy.
Yeah.
When I find myself in a bind, he's the first guy I call.
Nice.
What do you think about this? And then it's like E.F. Hutton. When he talks, I'm listening.
Yeah. I want to talk about Josh Hawley for a moment. And as I
I
said,
love Josh Hawley.
I brought up some quick clips and stuff for him, but the reason I bring him up, he reminds me, I've said this before, he reminds me of like the new Trey Gowdy.
Mm.
And Trey Gowdy was like the only Republican guy up there that I listened to everything. If I saw a clip from Trey Gowdy, I'm playing it because he's going to say some heavy truth that like nobody else will say, or they don't know how to say it. I mean, he was absolutely amazing in my opinion. Josh
Yeah.
Hawley is that guy now. And he holds people's feet to the fire, like people that you would think are way more powerful than he is, but he knows the Constitution and he knows what's right and he knows what's wrong. And my God, I've seen him in some instances. It's like, good. But you talk about respect. You can't help but respect the heck out of this guy. It's just, he knows who he is and he knows right from wrong. Here's a 1 minute clip, and this is he's grilling the Boeing CEO. You know, we
Oh,
might,
this was good stuff.
it was. Okay, here we go.
What is it that you get paid currently?
Senator, that's well disclosed in our proxy documents in each of the years that I've been employed.
Yeah, but what is it?
That's a big number, sir.
Well, let me help you out. It's 32.8 million this year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it
So
does.
That's a 45% increase over last year. Does that sound right?
45.
Yes, it does.
What is it you get paid to do exactly?
I get paid to run the Boeing company.
Yeah.
destroy it.
So just help me understand that. I mean, do you get paid for transparency? Is that one of the metrics for your income?
I think the board counts on me for transparency.
Really? Because you're under investigation for falsifying 787 inspection records. The Boeing's under criminal investigation for the Alaska Airlines flight. You were investigated by DOJ for criminal conspiracy to defraud
Listen
the
to this.
FAA. This is all in your tenure. This doesn't sound like a lot of transparency to me. What is it that you get paid currently?
Okay, that's the end of that. It
I
is one of those
remember
shorts.
I saw this when it was happening, and I was appalled, especially as a frequent flyer. I felt so much less safe after hearing this guy's responses to Josh Hawley. And what I loved about it was that, Josh does his homework, and
Yes.
he asks leading questions that they just fall right into the trap every time. And then he hits him with he springs the trap on him, and there's nothing that they can do. This guy is the head of Boeing, and Josh Hawley, who is paid a senator's salary, which is about $200K. This other guy's making $34 million, but
Yeah.
Josh is running circles around this guy.
Oh,
And it makes you
better.
wonder what Josh Hawley is doing in the Senate, because he could be a guy making that kind of money, but he chooses to do this. That's
sure.
interesting to me.
Yeah, and I got one up here, and unfortunately it's 7 minutes long. I'd like to find those shorts just to get the big moment. But this one is like he's grilling Merrick Garland on the politicization.
I love when he grills Merrick Garland. He's
yeah.
great at it.
But my point is, before I roll it in, I might have to skip around a bit, try to get to some points, because it is impressive. But my point is that Holly doesn't seem to realize that they let him fulfill this role. Since like Trey Gowdy's not there, it's like the Republican Party, I always say, is the appeasement party. It's kind of there like Fox News, so that that there's an opponent, but they don't really do anything. And my point is, Holly brings out and illustrates all of this corruption and wrongdoing, and the Republican Party never does anything with it, ever. It's the most toothless. And I'm going to say, I believe that it's going to be too big to be rigged, and Trump will win, and we're going to have that super team behind him, which is what I'm excited about. And we're going to talk a lot about that in a minute, a lot about that. And they're going to hold a lot of people accountable for the first time. But I'm just saying, I think to this point that the Republican Party is 100% toothless. This is what I wanted to say, is when the super team gets in there, I'm not going to be playing around and soft shoeing things that they are not doing or they didn't do well or whatever. They have 4 freaking years. That's a short period of time to make a great deal of change. And we better hold their feet to the fire, and they better make big freaking changes in the first year, then the second year, and then the third year, because that all goes by very, very quickly.
It really does. And I have to say this about the Trump administration during their first 4 years in, is that Trump made a lot of promises before he came into office. And like they all do, they all make promises, but then by the end of 4 years, most people forget what the promises were that they made. Well, Trump during the RNC, during the 2020 RNC, did something different, something I hadn't seen before. He took his campaign promises that he made 4 years before that and made a list of them, and then went through each one of them to show what the results were. I've never seen anything like it before. Every single one of those things was addressed fully. And it was a very, very long list. I've actually never, ever seen any president do that before, to go into their second term. And I've always seen where most of the campaign promises, most of them were not eclipsed. Now, some of them, like building the wall, was only partially fulfilled. But I think it's interesting. I've got a clip of an interview here with Kamala on CNN where Anderson Cooper is drilling her on the wall, and her but we'll go into that later. You're talking about something else.
Yeah, that's a good clip, and I think we've all probably seen it at this point, but it's worth revisiting. So I'm going to probably skip around. I just want to show you, this is the politicization of the United States Department of Justice. I can't believe that these things are not headlines every day in the news, but you know what our news machine is like. It's a propaganda machine. So I might skip around a bit. I don't know what's here, what's not. I'm certainly not playing 7 minutes worth. Oh, geez.
Astound me. This is a case where a Catholic pro-life demonstrator, father, was accused of disorderly conduct in front of an abortion center. The local prosecutor, the Philadelphia district attorney, who is a Democrat, a liberal, very progressive, declined to prosecute. There was a private suit that got dismissed. And then after all of that, your Justice Department sent between 20 and 30 armed agents in the early morning hours to the Houck's private residence to arrest this guy.
Can you believe that?
You might want to turn it down just a notch on Josh because it's super loud. But I remember seeing the video of them showing up at this man's house. It's a very nice house, by the way, and his wife and kids, and out in the country. And it's like this major SWAT type of a takedown happens.
Oh, it's supposed to be so intimidating. Yes. It's you know what? I don't know if I should keep
after. He had offered to turn himself in voluntarily. Here's the photo. Once again, you can see the long guns. You can see the ballistic shields. You can see that they're wearing bulletproof vests. Why did the Justice Department do this? Why did you send 20 to 30 SWAT-style agents and a SWAT-style team to this guy's house when everybody else had declined to prosecute and he'd offered to turn himself in?
Determinations of how to make arrests under arrest warrants are made based by the tactical operators in the district.
Oh God, I don't want to even hear
Takes
that.
no responsibility. Once again, this is what I hate is that, back to this respect thing. It's hard to respect these
I don't
leaders
respect. Yeah, you're exactly
don't
right.
take any responsibility underneath of their own organization. This is your organization. And you don't take any responsibility. The more I see Merrick Garland, the more I'm so happy he's not on the Supreme Court. Remember, that was where he was supposed to be, and now he seems to be taking out his anger on the rest of the country. I mean, he's gone after concerned parents for schools. He called them terrorists, treated them like terrorists. He embedded FBI agents in the Catholic Church to monitor them. They've gone after these abortion clinics, much like look what we're seeing in the UK. We're seeing people that are praying in front of abortion clinics in the UK being arrested for praying silently, praying in their heads. You're being put in prison for thought crimes now. And it looks like Merrick Garland wants to go down that same road with all of these different things. And yet they're campaigning like they're the good guys and they're taking care of you. And
I know
Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, but
Nazi.
This is tyranny right here.
For sure. And that's what they do all the time. And so if you only follow headlines of the news because you're kind of busy with your own life, and you want to be on the right side of things, man, they're wolves in sheep's clothing. They wrap every single thing in their higher morality, their so-called higher morality. And you don't want to be a bigot, do you? Because every damn thing is wrapped in bigotry.
It is.
And really so you would be a bigot if you disagree with this. Dude, as I say that, I can't believe that's still working in 2024.
Yeah, it's either you're a bigot or you hate women. I mean, look at what black men are dealing with right now is that we don't want to vote for Kamala because we hate women.
Obama apparently says. Now, you and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. We'll get back on track, but I wanted to ask you, and You know what? I got a clip on that, as a
Oh,
matter of
let's see it.
fact.
Yeah.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Because I'm going to load you up. I want to ask you, as you see this, what do you think about, as a black man in America, about Obama? Because I think he's kind of overstayed his welcome, and his shtick, in my opinion, isn't
Vice
what the
President
man
Harris
used
supports a
Eminem.
future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
to. Not a fan of this dude either.
Who is that?
Eminem.
Oh, I didn't recognize. I'm not a fan either.
Here we go. Obama, Mr. White guy, raised by white people, half white, grown up in privilege. Listen to him do his black impersonation. How is this not condescending to every black person in America?
I have done a lot of rallies,
Listen to that.
so I don't usually get nervous. But I was feeling some kind of way following Eminem. Now I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, I can't take any more. I'm embarrassed for those people behind him cheering for him.
Well, yeah. I just
What has he done for them?
nothing.
Made fools of them.
I agree. I look at that and just there's all kinds of hypocrisy that's going on right there. You know, last week Obama was out there, like I just said, out there saying that, hey, come on, brothers. I mean, let me just talk to y'all. Okay. Like all this Ebonics. Okay. I don't speak in Ebonics personally. So when he started speaking like that, I was like, I don't understand you. But you know, it's so condescending that if you're going to talk to me, you have to speak in Ebonics. You got to rap. You got to do a rap up there.
Yeah.
You know, you're telling me on the one hand that I don't respect women and I need to get over it, but yet you're propping up Eminem to me now, who raps about abusing women. And
His ex in particular.
yeah, and so you know, and I think about how they've demonized Donald Trump for some of the things that he said. Okay, well, I'm sure some of the things he said he's not proud of. Okay, but he made his fortune in real estate. Eminem made his fortune making poems about abusing women.
Yeah.
And he made his entire fortune doing that. And so you respect that guy, but you don't respect this guy. I don't understand that. If you're gonna disrespect this guy who said so, everyone has said things that they're not proud of, right? But this guy, he could go to any, and you can download his music, and he's making millions of dollars off of doing this. I just, the hypocrisy on that, and then you telling me that last week, and then doing a rap, and you're trying to add Ebonics in it, and you're forgetting that Eminem is a white guy. I mean, Eminem doesn't actually rap in Ebonics, but you are doing that, but you don't talk like that. It's just the weirdest thing, man. It's like, when I look at it, it's like, grab your wallet. These guys are trying to rip us off here somehow.
Go back to your upfront segment of the show about respect.
Yes.
Everything about that is inauthentic.
Completely inauthentic. And when you think about, like you said, the man was raised by his white mother. He was never around his African father, who was not from America and was a communist. And, you know, and you're playing it off like you're this black guy and you represent Black America. Well, I'm a black guy. I don't represent Black America. I represent me. But when you say that, it's condescending. It's insulting. I don't want to be known as black guy in America. Yeah. I'm an individual. I'm Merle. And that's who I want to be known as. And so if you're going to tell me about who I should vote for, I don't care about what they look like. I don't care about what, you know, any of that. I don't care if they're a man or a woman. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't care what color they are. I care about their policies. And to prop up all of that other stuff is just ignorance.
It is.
You think that I'm ignorant. That's what's happening here. I think that they're smart.
As
And this is
always.
what's so insulting about it is that I get the big whiff of you think you're a lot smarter than me, and you're being very clever to try to manipulate me into doing something that I wouldn't normally do. And
Because he thinks
that
you're dumb.
I don't have any respect for that.
Well, that's the thing. This is, as always, he's a racist, calling everybody else a racist. As always, the projection politics of the left. As always.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on. And I want to mention, I do hope that Mark gives me his 2-minute DIY tip before I start publishing this. That should be at the end of the show. And so stay tuned for that. I wanted to talk about Trump's X-Men, the psychological analysis of Trump's personality by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. That's episode 492. It came out last night, late last night. I listened to it this morning. It was a great episode. It is exactly an hour, Merle. You will love that episode. You have to listen to it. I'm going to go over some Cliff's notes.
Why is it called X-Men? What's
I'll explain that.
Okay.
Well, do you know who the X-Men is in comic book?
I've never really. I don't think I watched that.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's fine. I'll explain.
Familiar.
Enough.
But
Okay. So Trump did a psychological profile on these 6 people, this team. This is what I'm excited about. In a nutshell, I'm just summarizing here, but I'm excited about this team largely that has left the Democratic Party to find justice and to reform this country. That's very powerful.
I'm excited too. Yes,
It's a very powerful statement right there. And I think that each one of these individuals is largely uncorruptible. And we'll go into why. But as a team that could very well grow together for the next 10, 20 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they win this time and they actually think about that, man. This isn't some president with his so-called vice president of no stature whatsoever. This is a formidable team of highly educated, high character individuals. It's truly a dream team that is running for election right now.
Look at what they have to offer and what's coming out. I mean, it's not just make America great again, it's make America healthy again. And
yes,
you hear RFK Jr. talk about these things that are happening and the stats. I mean, it is astounding.
That's one of the most important things in my mind.
I think so too. And it's like when you listen to what the other side is offering, there's no comparison. I mean, this side is offering so much substance and they're not just offering up platitudes like make America healthy again. They're telling you how they're going to do it.
Right.
The other side is just filling you up with hot air and they're giving you portions of what they're going to do, which would ruin the economy. But then they say the other guy's plan is going to ruin the economy and it's dangerous.
All they have is hate Trump. That's all they have.
And this is their closing argument. I've been hearing it a lot this week. The pundits have been saying this is her closing argument. And the argument is Trump bad.
Yep. That's it. That's it. Well, you got 30% of the population, 30% of the voter base right there, in my opinion.
Yes, you're right. That's going to work for a great many people, but is it enough? And this is supposed to be the professional prosecutor given the closing arguments, and this is it.
Hate. It's hate.
Yeah, this is it. Unfortunately, a big part of our politics have come down to who do you hate more? And that's too bad.
I wanted to show you this incredible graphic. The production value on this whole thing is absolutely astounding. But to tell you just briefly about the X-Men, this is Peterson down here. And this is Trump is Charles Xavier. He's the leader of the X-Men team.
Yes,
Cyclops, that's Ramaswamy. Cyclops is the team leader. Tulsi's over here. Okay, you know Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Yes.
That's Elon Musk.
Oh,
Right
wow. I
there.
love that.
JD
Okay.
Vance is Wolverine, the big badass guy. And so who are we left with here? Who
Who's that
is
in the corner?
that's Beast, but who's left? Vivek? No, we said Vivek. JD Vance? RFK? RFK. That's
Oh, that's
RFK.
RFK Jr. Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. So Beast is a scientist. I think that's a really good one. I'm just
That
going to look
is.
at my notes right
And
here.
his name is Beast.
Yeah,
That's
the
funny.
Beast. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, have you seen that guy with his shirt off? Jeez.
Who? Oh,
RFK
RFK.
Jr.
Oh,
He's a
there he is.
beast.
He's a
He's a
beast.
beast, man.
Yes,
That
yes.
guy is done
I
quite a
think he's
thing with his
68
body.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what Trump said, this is just me paraphrasing, summarizing after I listened to the podcast. So they're very brief.
You're showing your notes.
Yes, I am. So Trump, a narcissist tempered by hyper conscientiousness and compassion, I put into question marks. Well, I want to just describe what conscientiousness is in psychological terms, because Peterson talks about conscientiousness a lot. Being high in conscientiousness is a personality trait of mostly Republicans, very successful business people. Lisa over here down the hall, super highly conscientious. These are people that make their beds in the morning. Their house is clean. Their bedroom is clean. They have a list of 40 things to get done throughout the day. They get all 40 done and hold other people's feet to the fire that are responsible for the other 5 things, at least. They're highly conscientious. So
that goes back to the accomplishments at the end of the 4 years. He actually
yes.
built a list, and nobody does that.
Well, and he also talked about on the podcast, you're going to love that, Merle. You will listen to that one. You're going to love it. He talked about you also like narcissistic personalities will be one trick ponies and try to get everything they can out of that for themselves. Trump's reinventing himself all the time. First of all, the highly conscientiousness thing as a developer throughout his beginning. If you ever tried remodeling your kitchen, you're going to come to the realization about how many moving parts there are and how hard it is to get everything done right, on time, and within budget. He has done this on a citywide scale, and it just takes hyper conscientiousness to do it, while he morphs himself into the entertainment industry, leading The Apprentice for 10 plus years or whatever is a number one TV show. And then into politics. He reinvents himself into politics, which again held the highest office. So he's able to just keep reinventing himself, and it takes hyper conscientiousness to do that. And he also says compassion is another trait that is not that it balances out. He does say he's narcissistic, big narcissistic tendencies, but he also shows an extreme amount of compassion. I forget the examples that he used for that, but certainly his family. He talked a lot about his love of family.
I have a question for you. And so maybe I don't know what the definition of narcissism is. Can you help me with that?
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking is because it almost sounds like you're saying two opposite things. Is that if you're a narcissist, how can you have compassion for others?
Well, he was saying that as a counterpoint, that
it seemed like two opposite things.
Well, that's what he was saying. He does have narcissistic tendencies, but his compassion and conscientiousness is a counterpoint to that. It's like on a seesaw. It
sounds more
out.
like so he's like a unicorn. You know what I mean? Like how a narcissist with compassion sounds like a very rare thing.
Yes, I would say that you're pretty close onto that. I wanted to look at the official definition of narcissist. Let's say, screw that. Let's go with narcissism, because that was really vague. Based on search results, a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, exaggerated sense of superiority. That's Trump all the way. Need for admiration, Trump. Lack of empathy. Now that's where compassion comes in. Lack of empathy. See, you border on sociopathy when you go down this road, which is having no feelings for other people, no empathy. So let me continue. Beginning in early adulthood and occurring in various contexts. It is pathological self-absorption, characterized by an inflated self-image and addicted to fantasy. Well, see, if you reinvent yourself in 3 different industries, you're not addicted to fantasy. You're actually addicted to doing, conquering reality. So
Yeah.
accompanied by unusual coolness and composure shaken only when one's narcissistic confidence is threatened. That's why Kamala's handlers crafted that really good debate, is they hit him in that narcissism.
I saw that, and that was a great strategy that they used. They trapped him. They got him in the trap. But then again, I see this guy like the McDonald's thing. Okay, you're doing fries. You're doing one of the most menial tasks in the world. Like, remember on Coming to America, where he's like, I'm on lettuce now, but one day I'm going to get a promotion to fries.
You and the Eddie Murphy movies all of a sudden. You're trading places. What was
whiskey.
Great? Did you see I got the photo of that.
No,
I laid it over on the YouTube video.
What that was.
Yes. Oh, that was so good.
Whiskey.
That was so funny, man. You brought me back there. All right, so let's move on with this dream team.
So
cool. Finally about Trump. No wars.
Yeah.
Do I need to say more? Do I need to elaborate on that? No wars.
Can I just make a comment on that? Because this is interesting. It truly, we are looking at such a two opposite ends of the coin here. Where he has no wars, but you know that the military-industrial complex only makes money when there's lots of wars.
That's why they hate him.
Then you look at Kamala and how two big Republican endorsements that she got were from the Cheneys.
War Machine Cheney. Yeah.
I mean, and you look at Dick Cheney and Halliburton and how the history of Halliburton and how these are country destroyers that they come into places like Iraq. They don't care about the Iraqis. This isn't helping Iraq, the citizens of Iraq at all. It's only helping America. It's only helping Dick Cheney. And it's helping the military-industrial complex. Look at what's happened over the last 4 years. The whole world blew up in war under this administration, and now you've got the Cheneys backing Kamala. Why do you think they're backing Kamala? Republicans like the Cheneys are backing Kamala. It's because they're not really Republicans.
Exactly.
They're war machine people.
They are,
and they use the Republican label to get what they wanted, but they don't care about America.
Right. And that's, I was going to do a spot on, I was looking for my notes here too, but I can't find them, but I was going to do a spot on how these key figures have switched sides. If you're a team player, like I know a lot of people that are just team Democrat, blue no matter who, and they grew up saying entirely different things than what they're saying today. And they don't seem to realize it. They used to be purveyors of free speech, for God's sakes, and freedoms and all that. Now they're all about authoritarian government and censorship. It's unbelievable. So we got like Cheneys. By God, if you're backed by Cheneys, that means one thing: war.
Wait, how is it that you can see this and so many people in the Democrat Party, like most of them, can't see this?
Well, okay, but what about the Republican Party? What about you had the Cheneys over there who now split over there? How do you explain Mitt Romney? And how do you explain the entire Republican Party's ineffectiveness at prosecuting all of the different crimes of election interference and in so many ways?
And maybe this is like two unicorns over here, me and you, because I remember Mitt Romney running for president. What a joke. And it was like, is this guy even a Republican?
He's a rhino.
I was tricked by the Bushes, I'll admit. But looking back on that, after that second George W. Bush administration, halfway through, I was like, oh, I get it. I was tricked. And so this is when the blinders started to come off. And who from my state here, what's his name? The other one.
I don't know, but I was going to say
John.
While you're thinking of that obsession, well, I should say the awakening from the Bush era laid the stage
McCain.
For the Obama era. That everybody wanted the anti-Bushes, and that was what Obama representative.
That's exactly right. And it was just like, well, Bush he's the devil, and Bush lied, people died. It was
Yep.
John McCain, by the way, was the name I was trying to come up with. Is that these people are war machine people.
Yes.
That's what they've become, and they're on both sides of the aisle.
Yes, they are.
And so now you only have a couple of people that are worth their salt in Washington. You played one of them earlier, Josh Hawley, and thank God people like him are there, but they're few and far between. And and you would think like a guy like that has got to be looking at his watch like, I'm ready to make some real money and not deal with the games that are going on over here.
To say the least, do a Trey Gowdy, which is why I want to get back to the super team, the Trump super team here, because I hope it saves the Josh Hawleys that are out there already and ready to take action, that are taking action on their own, and they need this backup.
They need help. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we go on to talk about Elon Musk, genius. He battles his own neuroticism, his own demons, but he's always trying to do good. And Peterson made mention that he's got some kind of a symbol or a statue or something called DOGE. It's a symbol of a dog, but it stands for do good every day. Hence Twitter. Buying Twitter for $44 billion. Eliminating 75 to 80% of the employee base right away. Remember the flack that he caught for that for all of about a week?
Didn't he bring like a toilet seat or something?
Yes,
in on
he
the
did.
First day? Yeah.
Yes, he did. No, the kitchen sink.
That's it.
The kitchen sink.
He's going to throw out everything but the kitchen sink.
Yes,
He brought the kitchen sink.
And good sense of humor, man. He throws out some really
back to the
funny
respect
tweets.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, but he showed it within like 2 weeks. It was already turning a profit after eliminating almost 80% of his staff.
All of that excess weight that he had right there, that
And
was just weighing him down.
He's supposed to be put in charge of government efficiency.
Wow. That is
okay.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Let's move on to RFK Jr.
I love that
lawyer.
guy.
Oh, I do too. Super smart, super humble, very, very brave. I mean, he was facing life or death running for president every single day. I remember he did a podcast. It was with Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon made an aside. He's like, hey guys, before you listen to this podcast, I got to tell you, right in the middle of it, the power went out. If you're RFK Jr., you have to realize how scary that is.
I mean, he must have been like,
exactly. And he had
somebody would have popped a bag. Pop.
Yes.
Had a heart attack.
And he was denied Secret Service protection.
Yeah,
by
that's serious.
By Biden.
And he kept on going, and his family turned on him.
Yes,
this is a guy. This is
they're embedded in the Democratic Party.
This is a guy that has a lot of. I don't know what you call this. I mean, he has an opinion. He's done
so
the
smart.
research. He knows it's not popular, but he's standing in the gap. And here's a guy that he's tried to get off the ballot because he feels like that's the right thing to do. Who does that? He joins up with Trump after. I mean, there was some ugliness between him and Trump, but there's
more important matters right now.
The guy is mature, right?
Yes.
He understands what the mission. He's got a mission in life, and by God, he's going to make that mission happen.
And his mission is to straighten out the FDA.
I mean, and this is like the Cyclops that's rampaging through America right now. When you take a look at all of the pharmaceutical deaths that have happened, and the mismanagement of COVID, and the shot and the repercussions of the shot that are all over the place right now.
Yes,
it is. Thank God there's a guy coming up here again. When you compare the two parties, I don't see the remedy for all of these things on the other side, but these guys have a plan. And they're got a plan for this.
I think every one of these people are uncorruptible too.
I think that that's a big statement, and I think it would be very hard to corrupt these people. I think everyone is corruptible, even me and you. But I think
definitely me. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard is.
I think it would be very. I think absolute power has the ability to corrupt anybody, including any of those people. So if they're, I believe that you're right in this regard.
Okay.
That they would never put themselves into a position of absolute power because they understand that concept.
Okay. Next
They
up
would
is
put a
Tulsi
check
Gabbard.
in there.
And it does seem like there's one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, I wanted to tell you a quick story about Dr. Phil, RFK Jr. that Jordan talked about. He said that he was having dinner with Dr. Phil. I forget where it was, but it was a nice restaurant. They were in the back, a back room. RFK Jr. comes in. They tell him that Peterson and Dr. Phil are having dinner in the back. This is Jordan telling the story. He says RFK, who he has the utmost respect for, had somebody very respectfully come back and ask if he could just say hello, if RFK could say hello. Jordan says, first of all, he didn't need to do that. He would be welcome in a heartbeat back there. We love him. But he had the humbleness to do that. And then when he came back, he apologized for intruding. And he goes, just the humility of the man is enough to make you fall in love with him.
I can just hear him now coming in and just like, I didn't want to make a problem here. Is it okay if I come in and talk to you?
Right.
Like,
Okay, next up.
I love that.
Right.
Okay,
next up is Tulsi. I felt that I needed to actually share some of what Jordan said about Tulsi because I thought I could not do it justice. I got to tell you, I admire her more than any woman outside of Lisa on this planet. I really do. The more I see her and hear her, listen to her.
I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah. Let's just hear a little bit of this.
Hubbard was in D.C. during a discussion hosted in this strangest of all possible worlds by Russell Brand. I had spoken with her at length, as in the case of Kennedy, on my podcast, although only once. What is Lieutenant Colonel Gabbard like on the personality side? Moderately extroverted, higher in assertiveness than enthusiasm. She is no giggling girl. Perhaps her military experience mitigated against taking that sometimes charming, but often too easy route. Markedly low in neuroticism, as befits a woman who pursued a true military career. Agreeableness? Ms. Gabbard cares genuinely about those she served and continues to serve, although I would say she does so in the temperamentally conservative manner that is part patriotism and part respect for the intrinsic dignity and worth of every person, rather than in the oft cloying, false, and morally self-righteous manner that so often
I want to say for people listening, as he's juxtaposing Tulsi to the leftists with Nancy Pelosi, Kamala, and all that, bending down at the knee with their cultural appropriated African-American scarves on. Remember that display a year or two?
How could I forget that, Barry?
Disgusting.
I mean, seriously.
So fake.
Again, associating all black people in America with Africa. I'm sorry. I don't know anybody in Africa. I've never been there before. And this
Elon Musk is African-American.
I don't. That's right. And I don't have a scarf like this, by the way.
Oh God! Let's
characterizes the so-called allies of the oppressed on the side of the progressive left. She's also very smart, without the more showy brilliance of Ramaswamy, who we still have to discuss. Down to earth in that intelligence, and is as conscientious as you would hope an ex-military member and influential political leader might be. Gabbard is the sort of woman who would make of someone a favorite aunt, a close confidant, a trusted friend. If you wanted sane advice, she'd be your pick. She doesn't have the stunning entrepreneurial flair of Musk, Kennedy, or Ramaswamy, but her presence on the X-Men team would add to that excess of plasticity some true stability, the other personality meta trait. This is particularly important when the team in question will be tasked with so much administrative and managerial responsibility. It is great to have someone around like Vivek, for example, who spins off new ideas at a constant rate. But I'd bet on Gabbard to implement effectively and to pay attention to all the details, although Musk also excels at that, to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. She's
Almost
a very
done.
difficult person not to admire, not to feel lesser than in her presence. She's solid, competent, straightforward, admirable, brave, patriotic, and tough. She'd be a truly thoughtful presence in the Trump X-Men team, which might otherwise tilt too hard toward the entrepreneurial and revolutionary.
His
Slow
closing
down,
statement.
gentlemen. Take some time and think. She has as well the emotional resilience not to panic, even under pressure, not to claim that the sky is falling and rush around madly and counterproductively merely for the show of work. It doesn't hurt as well that she is the epitome of feminine grace and attractiveness. Wonder Woman indeed, borrowing, if we can, from the DC world, the comic books, and not the city. I could certainly envision her as the first truly deserving female president of the United States.
There we go.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
what I wanted to get to right there, is that closing statement.
So, Barry, this is a woman I would definitely consider voting for.
I would in a heartbeat.
As I listen, this is a person with such class, such she has the it factor.
Oh yeah.
I shared a video with you where she was on The View, and they tried to take her down, but they were outclassed, especially Joy Behar. She was
made
outclassed,
a fool of herself.
She really did, and it's that they can't think on the same level that Tulsi can. She is everything that Jordan Peterson said right there is exactly right. But go back to the respect thing we went over, and Tulsi Gabbard checks the box on every single one of those 11 factors that we went over.
Leader,
and she really is. And what I love about her, and this is another one, the criticisms that she has taken and the calm demeanor that she brings with facts, and her persuasive, the way that she could persuasively put together ideas and come up with a conclusion. She's the total package, and she's got the charisma to actually be a president one day. When I look at this, when I look at this this potential Trump administration, what I see is a future for the Republican Party in a much different way than the Republican Party has acted for at least the last 20 years.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Well said. Let's finish this up. We are starting to run late here.
Yes.
So we got the Vivek Ramaswamy.
We didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough subject to go over today.
Vivek, super smart, obviously eloquent, hugely successful entrepreneur at a very young age, willing to evolve and grow. His youth, as Jordan says, his youth is his asset as well as his stumbling block. He came across too harsh with a take no prisoners approach at the beginning of his campaign, but he evolved. And now, if you've seen him or listened to him in any podcast at all recently, first of all, the guy is freaking beyond brilliant, eloquent.
No kidding.
And I said this before. I believe it's like if he gets elected to the appropriate position, you say, Vivek, I want you to take a look at the healthcare industry. I'll give you 2 months and propose how to fix it. He could do that.
He could.
I really believe
Trump impression you just did.
I started out with it.
When you said Vivek, it sounded like him. Yeah, you were good right there. That's pretty good.
All right, let's wind up with JD Vance. This was very impressive from Jordan Peterson's psychological point of view. His profile says Vance rivals Vivek in intelligence. That kind of blew my mind right there. Not saying that I question Vance's intelligence, but to compare him to Vivek's is like, well, that's a hell of a compliment. Mm-hmm. Amazingly principled young man that rose from the white ghetto of, and this is me paraphrasing, the white ghettos of Appalachia to his current position. Dedication, conviction, and unflappable. Unflappable for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the interviews, it's not just the debate was fantastic, but I mean, his interviews, the way the press has tried to railroad him into saying certain things, they're trying to control him and demonize him. He's masterful at handling an angry crowd.
He's smart.
He's
Poised.
so quick. He's disarming as well. That's the thing, is that they come at him with spears and pitchforks, and he has a way of causing them to lay him down, and then they forget why they were so mad. He's just really good at what he does. And this team that Trump has picked this was the big criticism I had over Trump the last time was, you're supposed to be this top CEO, and yet CEOs only succeed by the people they surround themselves with. And there were so many bad picks that he had before.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's interesting to take a look at all of the people that were in his cabinet that today are not endorsing him. And many have come back and said, oh, well, that's why we shouldn't vote for Trump. But then my response is, these are all swamp people. We're dealing with Washington. They're backstabbers over there. This guy came from outside. His mission was to clean the swamp. And I think he found out the swamp was a lot deeper than he thought it was.
For sure.
But this is a big job for one man to take on. But this team coming in right now is the dream team.
It is the dream team.
You can't beat this team except for if you're going to cheat. And that's what I'm concerned about.
I'm very concerned about it. It has to be too big to rig. I wanted to say about vice presidents in general. We've been taking this whole notion too lightly for too long. This is how we got Kamala Harris, is because she was appointed vice president. And we had a candidate that clearly lost his mind during his his presidential run. Now, if you have a president coming up in this next term that loses his life or her life, one way or another, would you rather have Vance running the country or Tim Walz?
Yeah, Vance any day.
It was almost a rhetorical question. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just think that, you know what? I think it'd be really worth listening to Jordan Peterson's closing remark. And by the way, did you notice the production value of
First off, I thought that the filming of that was fantastic. There was a Lincoln-esque kind of thing about the way he was sitting right there. Again, never underestimate the power of presentation. He came off extremely credible like that, and I loved the artwork that he did with the X-Men and how he fit them into those different personalities. That was a very, very well done segment.
He's got a high production value. Well, you know, he put together quite a team. I should say, I think it's mostly his daughter and his son-in-law put together the team that did all the video production for his online college, Peterson University, which is super. We covered that a few weeks back. Super high end. So I think that's probably the same team here. I'm not exactly sure what point I'm at, but I know that his closing remarks were very good.
With that same God's help, they could accomplish. Every single one of those people is remarkable in their own right. Everyone a person whom it has been a privilege to watch, hear, and to some degree get to know. It is for such reasons, for what it is worth, that I hereby and wholeheartedly endorse the Trump X-Men team. I truly can't imagine anything more exciting and absurd than their ascendance. Any possible political event more preposterous and compelling. Any future I could look forward to with more on the edge of my seat excitement. That's a great and amazing opportunity. Remember this, however. Remarkable as they are, those DC-bound X-Men are going to need plenty of help. And all of you watching and listening should understand that failure looms unless you are there to do your part. Seriously, it's not for nothing that you are all sovereign citizens of a free and remarkable state, charged with the responsibility and opportunity of your own governance. Start by voting. If all of you who are undecided just took up that initial light mantle of citizenship and headed to the booths, or all of you too cynical above it all and faux cool to bother, The whole world could change, and in a remarkable way. This is going to be a thin margin of victory or defeat, one way or another. Don't let what you hope for vanish in consequence of your inaction. Play your part in bringing the Trump X-Men team to D.C. and let the cards fall where they may. What new possibilities might be revealed?
All right, let's yeah.
That's cool, man. That was I actually got goosebumps from that. You know what's interesting? You look at that and you look at the excitement that's being generated. I just don't see that on the other side.
How could you?
This thing is happening here that's never happened before for this Republican base, and I really feel like there's electricity that's being pumped into this, and it's driving people to the polls. I told you that I heard this statistic that when the Republicans are, as far as voter registration goes, when the Republicans are at 3% below the Democrats in the amount of registrations, the Republicans typically win. Because the Democrats, by proportion, don't actually go to the polls as much as the Republicans do. 3%, though, is where the 3% lead by the Democrats means that the Republicans win. And the stats today are that the Republicans are at 8%, above the Democrats, not below the Democrats, they're above. So the delta is huge now.
It's amazing.
This is a big point.
You know what? You and I talked about a week or two ago, not on the podcast, about the importance of Trump losing the last election. And that's an interesting point. Very important that he lost that last election.
I agree, because we never would have had all of this exposed to us that we could see. And now they have to run on how bad Trump is for democracy, and not on they can't run on anything that they accomplished over the last 4 years.
It had to get that bad.
Giant deception here that
they had to
expose on us.
They had to expose themselves, and Trump had to lose that crappy cabinet that he had, reconfigure, and come up with this dream team. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been much of a change. It would have been.
I hear you. As you're seeing this last week, especially for Trump, with Tulsi Gabbard coming out and switching over to the Republican Party, and by gosh, that was an amazing speech that she gave.
I have that keyed up, but
we just don't have time.
Yeah.
And then you've got RFK Jr. and you've got all these great things. You got Trump over at McDonald's, and you've got.
Wait a minute, dude! I thought you were going to go conspiracy theory on the salmonella or whatever the hell went on with the burgers.
That was interesting. I guess what I'm saying is that as I took a look at what was happening on the other side of the aisle, on the Kamala campaign, you had the Telemundo interview, which just was a disaster.
I didn't see it.
You've got her talking. She said he pressed her on what's happening at the border and what's your plan. And everyone's talking about mass deportation and no one's talking about a pathway to citizenship. And she interrupts and says, I'm talking about there has to be a way for amnesty for these people that came across the border. So there it is. She talked about fixing the border. Well, here's how she's going to fix it. Mass amnesty.
Is this that Cooper Anderson interview?
No, that was on Telemundo. Now, Cooper, on that Cooper one, what happened this week, which was a town hall, she got asked a question about how are we going to deal with all these people that are here in this country that came across. She didn't answer the question, but Anderson jumps in and he says, well, what he goes to is that bill that somehow Trump was able to crush. Yeah. But then Anderson says, well, interestingly, in that bill was $600 million for the wall. And you're promoting and saying that this was the answer, and yet you made fun of Trump for building the wall. You demonize that.
They sold the materials.
He says, have you changed your mind on the wall now? And she will not answer that question, although she is saying that the bill would have solved everything and she was behind it. And he keeps pressing her on. So, but you want the wall now. And you see what it's hilarious. And it's just word salad stuff. It's her back up against the wall. You've got that.
She's awful.
And then another interview on NBC where she's asked about Joe Biden stepping down and when did you first realize that he had cognitive difficulties? Now, this is coming from NBC now. It's not coming from Brett Baer. And she goes on to talk about how sharp he is. And then she says, yeah, but if he's so sharp, why are you here now? And she's like, Joe Biden's not running for president. I am. And it's just like kind of how it ends. And it's like, okay, all of that. Compare that to what happened in the Trump campaign. The one seems to be the Titanic, and the other one seems like it's a rising star here.
It does.
Again, how can Trump lose this? It seems like the only way is that they got to cheat, or
they're going to cheat.
Other kind of way of making the election not actually happen, even though we have early voting happening right now. There's all kinds of rumors. Yeah. Who knows what the actual thing is? Let's hang on. Let's try to stay positive. Here's one last thing I'll say is that from a Republican point of view, I feel like this. There's all kinds of weird rumblings that are happening in the background about violence. I would say that if you love this country, go back to the respect thing that we talked about earlier. Don't allow yourself to be provoked. Stay calm, stay collected, stay in peace, love your neighbor. Forgiveness is huge right now because people are being deceived. There, by the grace of God, go I. Let's have compassion for other people right now. Let's try to just take a step back and take a breath. Because I love this country, and there are evil people that want to provoke us into a trap and start some type of horrible thing. Don't let them do that.
Absolutely. With that, please go to over50startingover.com. Sign up for all this. Get all this, the links and everything we talk about to your email box as it happens. Sorry for forgetting to send out the email for 4 days last week. Besides that, please go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe there, listen to this. We'll tell you when you got to come over to Spotify or YouTube to watch the video, but please sign up at Spotify. Sign up at YouTube. Give us a like, give us a shout out. Please ask questions and give us comments. We love
that.
We do. Hopefully, Mark will give us his 2-minute DIY AI tip right now. And I got one movie share I want to give you. Did you see the 2016 Star Trek movie called Beyond?
I did not.
Really? Because you're such a Star Trek nut.
I know. For some reason, I haven't seen that yet.
It's on Netflix. I saw half of it so far. I'm going to finish the other half tonight. I got to tell you, first of all, the cast is amazing. You're not taken out of it. Like when I watch a Tom Cruise movie, I don't like Tom Cruise because I see Tom Cruise. I don't see the character.
Yeah.
Now this, like, first of all, Carl Urban plays Bones, right?
Right.
Carl Urban is the guy that plays in The Boys, is the tough guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Same dude. Hard to believe. He's such an amazing
He's a great actor. He really is a great
dude,
actor. I've
he
seen him in several
is
things.
McCoy in that.
That's wild.
He's like 100%.
It's wild that he could be that guy. That's mind blowing. Wow.
Yeah. And what's his name that plays the Kirk? Chris Pine, one of the best looking guys I've ever seen in my life. And he's really, really good. The guy that plays Spock, he's good. The cast is incredible. The effects are freaking amazing. Like, I'm going to tell you, like the production value when they get attacked by some foreign thing out in space, it's really like a foreign thing you never thought of out in space. And
cool.
And these different worlds that they created. No one Lost in Space when we were kids, they would always land on this dirt rock. There'd be a couple rocks here and there. Yeah. That's all. No, man, these are worlds like, who thought of this stuff?
Yeah.
And the effects and the computer stuff is like the
cool.
computers they use. It's mind blowing. And the plot is simple enough. It's a rescue mission. So you're not like all confused. What the hell is going on now? Who's who and this, that, or the other. It's great. I can't wait to watch the second half.
And it's called Beyond.
Yeah. It's Star Trek from Beyond from 2016.
Right on. Okay, cool.
I lost track of those Star Treks a long time ago.
I did too.
Super enjoying this one.
Oh, great tip. I love that. This is one you can watch this weekend on Netflix, so check it out.
Yeah, with that, I guess we should go. Merle, I hope you have a great weekend. Man, fun podcast once again. Great shares.
You too, man.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Love you.
Hey there, over 50, starting over friends. Mark Tennant here with your AI tip of the week. This week, using roles and steps in your ChatGPT prompts to better your output. Let's get started. A few weeks back when we started doing this series, we had you just create a simple prompt. Remember that? It was write a blog article on whatever topic that you chose. And in my prompt, it's going to be write a short blog article on using video in marketing. We plug it into ChatGPT and this is what we get. Not bad. Why video is essential in 2024. Couple of good points. SEO, builds trust and authority. Pretty general, but not bad for a short blog article when you're just giving a simple statement like that. But let's add a role now. Let's have ChatGPT act as something. And in this case, we're going to have it act as an expert video creator in marketing and write a short blog article on using video in marketing. So there's our prompt. We plug it into ChatGPT and look at this. Maximizing your marketing impact in 2024. Some great points. Actually, it says why video, boost conversion rates, and the different points there. On the second page, it tells you what types of videos you can create with marketing videos and why to create them. Something only a video creator, an expert video creator would know. Let's take that a step further and add steps. In other words, adding more instruction to the prompt, because just simply saying write a blog article about whatever, it's just too wide. So we're going to give it these steps: an attention-grabbing headline, 3 paragraphs with 3 main points, and a call to action at the end. We create our prompt, we open up ChatGPT in a new window, plug that in, and we get, boom, this, an attention-grabbing headline where this is where the human side come in. You might have to touch that up a little bit, but you get my point. 3 great paragraphs with some main points, and of course, a call to action to take a video marketing course. Not bad. Role play and steps in your prompts will always give you better output and better knowledge when you're using AI. Want to connect with me? marktennant.net is my website. My email is marktennant.net. I answer all of my email. And please connect with me on the socials. On LinkedIn, I'm at Mark E. Tennant. Until next time, keep prompting, keep learning, and keep using AI.